Welcome into Missing the Point. We're back on the podcast. I've made my journey to the podcast all the way from the fucking Mensa meeting that was the comment section of our TikTok and YouTube over the course of the weekend. Love the fans, love the engagement, but I'm quite casual about it. I feel we had a really good pay-per-view yesterday. I know that you guys are on a different time zone than me, but I was done by 5 p.m. I didn't even really know what to do with myself. I watched Old Henry, which I had never seen. Really enjoyed it. Had what? You like it, Ben? You like that movie?
Dude, you recommended that movie to me last year.
I think I said it looked good. I don't know if I'd
Yeah,
seen it.
and oh my god, I
I
love that
love
movie.
it.
I
It was
watched
so good.
much.
So good. It was just I don't want to spoil anything for the listeners, but the twist at the end actually was quite well done, I thought.
Yeah.
Bruce Willis was a ghost the whole time. It was wild.
Oh my god, I fucking hate that guy. Not Bruce Willis, M. Night Shyamalan, but I don't even think The Sixth Sense was that good. I don't even know if he's ever made a good movie, to be honest. But we're here to talk about the UFC. Stands for the Ultimate Fighting Championship. See, I'm not that fucking casual. I know that. And we had a really good card, I thought. The early prelims, there was about 30 fucking fights in the early prelims, which is cool. I like when they do that because there's no break in between the walkouts. Just one person after the other. The prelims were cool. I enjoyed all of it, but the main event, I really can't. I'm champing at the bit to talk about because during the walkouts, Kamaru Usman, I thought Kamaru was kind of trying to convince himself that he was still Kamaru Usman, even though he had been told and the world had been told that he was human with headshot dead. Leon, I was a little nervous about his body language going into the ring. And as I told you guys, I'm a certified doctor in body language. I was a little nervous about it, but what I realized looking back is that I think he was just like fine. He was just like walking into the octagon completely okay. And that showed in the fight itself. Matt, I doubled down in order to try and make some of my money back that I had lost over the course of the card because my bets, I wasn't necessarily wrong about the fights, but my bets were stupid. And I did make some money back just doubling down on Leon because I just thought to myself, you know what? Like, it is hard to recover from a fucking knockout like that. But despite that, what I thought Leon did really well was what I think his game plan was in the last fight, but he got tired. A couple fingers and gloves, but the wrist control that he was showing in order to not stay on the ground and explode out at random times and like really make sure that he just wasn't going to get kept up against the fence or kept on the ground and have Kamaru lay on him. He got out of there almost every time it happened. And I think it just showed that Kamaru Usman is kind of who he thought he was. He has that one thing, I know he's knocked guys out, but maybe Masvidal wasn't as good as everybody thought going into that fight. Who knew? He only lost like 15 times up until that point before he'd need Ben Askren in the head. But I think Leon getting out of there was the game plan in the first place. I think he's really improved his wrestling. He's a really good athlete. And once they were on the feet, Kamaru didn't have shit for him. So, it was probably not the smartest money that I made all night. But once the fight actually started getting going, I was like, not that surprised. What did you think?
No, I'm proud of you for doing it. I wish I had followed you. You gave me every opportunity to, and I think I responded to your text with "ew" because I couldn't.
You did.
I could not perceive a fight with Kamaru Usman trying to get his belt back where he was going to just kind of stand in there and take weird shots and not shoot for the legs.
He was
15
nervous.
times around.
He was nervous about getting knocked out again, to be honest.
Nervous. He looked like he was pacing a fight that he was already winning the whole time, which was such a bizarre kind of position. Like, we've seen him do that where in the first 2 rounds, he has a total of 8 minutes of control. And then the last 3 rounds, he's just going to coast and walk around the ring with you, send in some shots, maybe shoot a leg, but not really going to pressure the fight because he's a boring fighter. He literally did that the whole fight. And he took some nasty shots from Leon in the process.
He took a head kick. He took a head kick that glanced a little bit off his shoulder, and I think that's what saved his life.
He just rolled it just a little bit, but man, you said it, he doesn't look like the same guy. It looks like that head kick actually may have changed the course of his career, and good for us because he's the most boring champ we've ever had.
Yeah, him and Khabib. But I wonder, I want to just slide that in there. I wonder, Ben, you're going into a fight. Have you ever fought a guy twice? Have you ever fought the same guy twice?
No, I had the opportunity to, and it's funny that you say that because one of the bigger opportunities that I had, I got the opportunity for a rematch because the fight was close, and the rules of the new fight, I believe, were in my favor based on my
Why?
skill set. So it wasn't 5 rounds. It was a 3-rounder, and the kid who I was fighting physically outclassed me in rounds 4 and 5. I really thought that I had him in rounds 1, 2, and 3. I ended up losing the second round because of a knockdown, but I still thought I beat him. Besides that, but it was a K1 rules. I had way better boxing than him, and I thought I would go out there and smoke him, but opportunity fell through. He got sick.
But you at least thought about it, right? You at least started a game plan for it in your head going into a rematch situation, and you lost the first one. As the person who didn't win the first fight, and again, the same situation as Kamaru sort of had, where it's like, well, I had him in those first few rounds. I think I have better this. I think I have better that. Don't you think Kamaru should have maybe just added something surprising to his game in that year layoff that they had in between those fights? Like, I really think there was an overconfidence issue in certain areas where he came in going, I'm just going to do the same. It was working. He caught me with a lucky head kick. But Leon was like, I'm just going to keep improving all these areas of my game. And now I felt this pressure and I know what this pressure feels like. I know how he does it. And I know how I'm going to get out of it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, man, that's hitting the nail on the head. Usman came back in, looked incredibly confident, obviously, in the walkout. And I try not to put too much stock in body language and stuff like that,
Not I, sir.
Unless we're seeing like a horrific body language. Like, what was the girl's name who was Megan, the tall girl? Remember, she was walking out. She looked
her ass beat. Yeah.
Yeah,
the one that fought Dan Hardy's wife. What was her name? Let me look. Keep going.
So came out, obviously thought he was just going to go do the same thing again. And to his credit, he's done that every single time he's fought. He's an incredibly difficult pressure fighter to deal with. Hits hard. Obviously not super exciting. Stomps your foot into oblivion. But he does his thing and he wins fights. But wow. Jesus, man, that was crazy to watch that last night after. And I know that we have to account for the fighting at
altitude in the second fight.
Where did they fight? Where did they fight the first time?
Were they in Denver? Were they actually?
Something like that. They fought at altitude, and it really looked. I hadn't ever seen him get tired like that before. But Second fight.
His cardio looked great. We all said it right after the first round. Like, he did that thing that you do. I mean, I've experienced this in the few times that I've actually had a cardiovascular, like my cardiovascular levels higher. He did that thing you're able to do when you are in really good shape, where you remember to get your breath back by taking a big deep breath through your nose, blowing it really fast out your mouth, and then you're back. Right.
Yeah.
And it's like, I saw him do that and I was like, oh, his cardio is better. Like he's good. He's calm, because I've noticed in the experiences I've had in situations like that, where it's like, if your adrenaline's high, you don't remember to breathe right. And I looked at Leon and he was just remembering to like keep his breath like in the right place. He was remembering to like not let the adrenaline dump on him a little bit. And like, I think that he was well aware of the fact that his cardio is what let him down in the first fight, and he won the first round in the second fight, I should say. And he won the first round in that fight. And I think it was, if his cardio didn't let him down, I think he could have kept doing what he was doing. And look, it happened. He could not hold him down the way he's held other guys down. And it's the fact that they fought 3 times is a factor in that. I will say I took a little shit on our TikTok for saying that he's not very good on the mic. He isn't. Like, I stand by that. Like, people are like, headshot dead. I'm like, yeah, it was all right. It was cool. And he had like the people chanting it and stuff. What I will say for Leon, though, is when Kamaru walked across the octagon and tried to like intimidate him, and he just like put the gun up in his face and started doing that, I was like, that's actually some cool shit. He's not scared at all. Like, this is going to be a good fight at the very least, right?
He implemented a really good game plan, man. His footwork He was switching stances, cutting the angle, and making Usman pursue him, which I didn't really think was the way that he would win that fight. I thought getting out there and meeting him and keeping Usman on his heels would be the way to beat him, because Usman always beats you in a pressure fight.
Yeah.
In a battle of attrition against Usman, you lose.
Right.
But he was able to keep cutting the angle,
And I was getting nervous because he was letting himself get backed up a little bit, but then every time he got that just too close to the cage, he would just move. He would just circle, and he was circling in a way where he wasn't going to circle into any kind of power shot that Usman threw, because he was hitting his way out of those situations. He was like making Usman think, or like moving his hands and like, you know, hand fighting, and then just like dipping out, which I thought was genius. Honestly, it was like really, really clever.
Yeah, real masterclass in hand trapping that fight. Catching over the and throwing over the top. But that first body kick that we saw in the first round, I think that really told the tale of the fight. Conor pretty much folded him with the body kick, and then it was just different the entire time.
Also, that
awesome.
kick, that kick, he was just watching for it the entire time, because like Edwards' thing, I think, was like, I can just kick you in the body like this all day, and if you lean into it and it becomes a head kick, that's fine. But he was waiting to throw the full-blown head kick until the later rounds again, which was smart. Michael Bisping, who spent the entire night basically still yet again not making any fucking sense, actually made a good point during this fight, and DC like kind of made fun of him, and I was like, you made fun of him for this, but like you didn't leave like any of the other stupid shit that he was saying for the entire fight. And we'll go on to the fact that Justin Gaethje called him out too, which is funny, but he made the point where he was like, he's not very articulate, he's a fucking idiot, but he was trying to say, and I was agreeing with him in the moment, where Usman got caught with a cup kick, which was the first one was pretty on his fucking jewels. The second one kind of glanced, and Usman kept like looking at the referee, and I think the glove thing had already happened by this point. And yeah, his fingers were in the glove, but I think what we saw later was that like he didn't need to hold his glove to get out of those situations. So I don't really think it makes a difference. But what Bisping was saying is he was like, he's getting distracted by complaining to the referee. Like he's turning around going, oh, he hit me here. Oh, he did this. And as much as I know it's annoying to like obviously get kicked in the fucking balls or get your glove grabbed or whatever. It's like, I feel, and speak to this if you can, Ben, and I don't mean to leave you silent, Matt. I do have questions for you also, but I'm worried they're going to cut another clip of you talking, and we're going to have to deal with 14-year-olds yelling.
Oh, don't worry. They will when we get to Gaethje.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's going to be your moment, but I just am curious for Ben's expert opinion on this. If you're locked in and it's just like an annoying kind of cup hit, it doesn't hit you flush, it doesn't debilitate you or like bowl you over, or he grabs the glove or whatever. If you're locked in and you're confident you're going to beat this guy's ass, I just feel like you're not turning around and being like, come on, ref, like, come on this, come on that. It's like, just power through it and fuck him up. You know, if you're in there and you're locked in, if you're not worried at all, and you don't think you need every little advantage, you're not doing that with the referee, right? Also, can we please stop fucking having Herb Dean referee big fights? Like, he just is so bad. Like, it's crazy how bad he is. He's so unsure of himself. He like knows the rules, and I think he's had good moments, but I think he's been through enough like trauma of fucking up fights, which happens to everybody. Any referee, if you do it for long enough, he'll make mistakes. But he just like second guesses himself. At one point he went up to him and he was like, "This is a hard warning, but I can't give you back the position, so I'm taking a point." And I was like, fucking what? Like,
yeah, what exactly what he said.
Yeah. Dude, he you can tell he's just standing in front 6 inches in front of the mirror every day thinking about the wrong thing that he got wrong, and he's like, never again. And then
you got this, don't listen to him. It's probably the same people got in his head as we've been fucking populating our TikTok comments for the last 48 hours.
But I just wanted to say, I think it was funny, Mike Bisping of all people being like, you're not supposed to be doing that, acting like he didn't get his fucking shit rocked by Anderson Silva, doing the exact same thing, literally turned to the ref to complain, and Silva flying kneed him.
Well, you know, there was a couple of moments in the Edwards-Usman fight where something like, there was one moment I remember specifically where Edwards kicked him, I think, low on the torso, and Usman turned to complain to Herb Dean, and Herb Dean was like, no, it's good, it's good. Yeah. But they both kind of stopped fighting and looked at Herb Dean, and I was like, Leon, punch him in his shit when he does that. Because, like, for me, there's still a raging debate about when Floyd Mayweather hit that poor kid who was trying to hug him for the 6th time and knocked him unconscious. And it's like, guys, I hate to say this, and I'm not trying to be a piece of shit. I'm really not. But the fucking thing they don't stop repeating, and everybody listening to this podcast knows what I'm about to say, is protect yourself at all times. Don't do that. You're going to get fucking killed. If you do that, somebody's going to have the wherewithal to fuck you up. If the referee says stop, you stop. Otherwise, don't. And I think that is a little bit of a indication of how little control Herb Dean has in there. Like, say what you will about like Mark Goddard, right? Like, Mark Goddard is like, you're dating a girl and she introduces you to her dad, and it's Mark Goddard, and he has to like tell you the stories of how he used to be a rambunctious youth, you know? And it's just like, Jesus fucking Christ, this girl's dad is like, but he's not a terrible referee. Like, you can tell he's got an ego, which should not really have a place in refereeing. But then there was that Rich Mitchell guy, who apparently they found in England. I'm sure he's done other fights, but I never really noticed him. Great ref. Yeah. Everything he did was, he was just very like, nope, yep, like very clear, stopped people, did this, did that. And like, for me, the glove thing, for like, the rules just need to be like readdressed. The glove thing, for example, I don't care. I just don't give a shit. Like, the referee should get over there and be like, take your fingers out of the glove. You shouldn't be losing fucking points for that, dude. Like, I mean, and for me, this is a crazy thing, because when I first started watching MMA is when you first started doing it, Ben. It would always be about giving the position back, and they never do that anymore. It's they take a point, or it's a hard warning, and then they're back on the feet, and the guy's lost the position. It's like, well, you might as well try to fuck around with like referee wise then.
Mm-hmm.
That was one hell of a fence grab though on Leon.
Again, I mean, it's not his fault. That's a reflex. Like,
listen,
your reflex is gonna tell you to like don't make it a fence. The only reason it's a fucking cage, guys, is to make it like more cool and intense. So like, don't blame the fucking fighters for using what's around them. I'd throw a fucking chair in there, for God's sake, if it was up to me. So you're talking about fucking fence grabs like they're the worst thing in the world. It's like, there's a fence right there. Don't make it a fence. Don't make it grabbable. Like, just, there's got to be a better way. There has to be a better way, right? Than a cage that is finger shaped for when someone's trying to drag you down and murder you. Your reflex, Ben, speak to this, please. Like, you have a reflex to do stuff like this.
Yeah, and goddamn, when you actually, it's so funny because before I ever fought in a cage, you look at it and you're like, oh, it's like a cage, like a fence. You do those things. I don't know how we haven't to date had somebody lose a toe or some shit like that in the
because it's like sharp,
dude,
right?
Those things are stiff. I remember my first MMA fight at the strip club that you guys came to. The next day, dude,
I was there anyway.
Yeah,
I've never been.
Ben's here too. My whole back was shredded from the cage. It should be. They should really take it back to like a pit fight and like have it be like 6 foot walls.
Yeah.
Like,
just lower it down so you can get the camera angles.
Of course you're gonna grab it. I've grabbed it. I've used it to walk with my feet, which isn't illegal, which is odd. Where do we draw the line with opposable thumbs on the feet? Because because you can't grab with your feet.
But also, it's like even the feet thing. There's like, you're not supposed to be able to interlock your toes or something. It's like. But then you'll see the referee coming over and like knocking their hand away, and it's like, all right, I'll take that. Like, that's fine. You like, don't let you can't catch it. Don't let them do it. But
yeah, dude, have beaters on the outside, smash in the inside of the wall.
Yeah, I mean the eye poke thing too. It's like, I just feel like we know there's better gloves, and they don't want to use those gloves because they're not patented to the UFC or whatever. Like, the way the octagon is patented, and like they make money on that like cage being used in other promotions or whatever. But it's like an eye poke, I can understand. An eye poke, it's like, you've changed the course of the fight. Matt, you remember all the John Jones fights where he did that on purpose every single time, for sure. And like, it gave him an advantage. There's interviews with DC after their first fight, and he looks like he's gonna lose the eye. It's like,
yeah, that's true.
The eye poke, you should lose a point for. I mean, I know that the gloves aren't ideal, but an eye poke and a groin strike, those I understand. A glove grab and a fence grab, I'm like, I don't know, man. Like,
so with the fence grab, and I think Herb Dean even said it out loud, he literally stopped the takedown from occurring. So if he doesn't do that,
give him the position. Just give him the position then.
Well, the real issue I have is, doesn't he get the round anyways? So he's probably going to get the round if he got that takedown anyways. But as far as DC goes, he has like magnets in his eyes. He's been eye poked by so many people. I think it's his height.
It's
I think he's just
short. I was just
perfect
gonna
check
say
level.
it's because he's shorter than like every guy he's ever fought because he
Like
fights
Stipe-
where everyone's over 6 feet tall. Yeah.
Stipe actually touched the back of his skull with an eye poke. It was horrendous.
Yeah, and that was probably accidental because Stipe seems nice, but
But John Jones is a
John
bad
Jones-
guy.
yeah, he's a terrible.
Right,
person.
fair, yeah.
Yes, he is.
He's a fucking absolutely awful person. So on that note, though, a few things have like sort of occurred from the fallout of this fight. I think, you couldn't put a gun to Dana White's head and have him tell you this, but I think this was an ideal outcome for this main event. I do not think he was loving Kamaru Usman as a title challenger. I did find it funny that Ali Abdelaziz was definitely on Islam Makhachev's fucking phone being like, I want him next. And it's like, dude, he just lost. All right. Like take all your fighters' phones and give them back to their fighters. He doesn't really want to fight Leon Edwards. It's fine. Well, just keep him at 155. It's cool. But a few things that have come up is, they did this big promotion of like keeping Kobe a secret, bringing him down to London, having him like be obnoxious in the crowd and be like, oh, it's fucking, I'll fight this guy, whatever. He seemed very excited that Leon won because I think he knew that if Leon won, he was getting a shot to fight him again. Nobody wants to see him fight Kamaru again. So then Dana said, it's definitely Kobe next, right? That definitely fucks over the Bilal Muhammad's and the Gilbert Burnses of the world. But what I think is happening, and I think Ben's face is going to crinkle up when I say this, but what I think is very clearly happening is I think that they think that Conor's going to beat Chandler. I think that they're going to have Kobe fight Leon, and I think that it's a win-win giving Conor either Kobe or Leon for the UFC, because if it's Kobe and Leon or the first ever spit roast UFC fight. Yeah. No, but he goes, you have him against Kobe, that the promotion writes itself. It's just two guys just yelling horrible shit at each other. That fight sells itself. You have him fighting Leon. It's Ireland versus England. It's a stylistic matchup. Maybe benefits Conor a little bit better than if he fights Kobe. I think a lot better than if he fights Kobe. But I think that's what they're doing. And does that fuck the Bilal Muhammad's of the world? Yeah. But I think Bilal Muhammad might have fucked Dana White's wife, because you know who they're putting him against next?
Shavkat.
What did he do?
Dude,
whose fucking wife did he sleep with that he has to go fucking fight Shavkat now?
I wouldn't fight Rakhmonov for any amount of money. It just nothing about that seems fun or fair. It was
like cutting over to him. He was there last night. It was cutting over to him when like shit was going down. Like someone was yelling at someone. It was cutting over to Shavkat. He was going. Like when all this stuff was going on, I'm like, that's a scary guy. That guy's, and like the problem with Bilal Muhammad is like he's not the most exciting fighter in the world. He's also doubles as a pretty terrible commentator, but seems like a nice enough dude. I think
he just wins. He just wins.
I'm
every
surprised
fight.
You don't know him personally, man. But what's funny is he's just one of those guys where it's like Dana's not transparent about who gets title shots and why. And like this is kind of what I was saying about Leon and the mic skills. And people were saying on our TikTok and our YouTube, they were saying, well, you don't need to be this and this and it's like, you do. Yes, you do. It's part of your job to sell the fights. That's 100% part of your job, guys. I'm sorry. I wish it wasn't the case. In fact, I don't. It's part of the fucking fun of watching the sport. So I don't know. But anyway,
especially this sport.
Bilal's going to get fed to Shavkat like the Rancor in Jabba's palace. Gilbert Burns is definitely going to beat the fuck out of Jorge Masvidal. And then you have this sort of like Gilbert Burns, who does he fight? But it's there as an option if X, Y, or Z doesn't work out. But there's a lot going on at welterweight now. And I think that's all because Kamaru Usman didn't win again. I just think it's a lot more fun to put Leon against guys. But Leon, he's gone up a level. And like, honestly, as much as I was ragging on his mic skills and like him not taking advantage of the fact that Kamaru Usman is a fucking corny loser, as much as he should have, his game got even better than the last time I saw him. He got a lot better. So all power to him. And Matt, I know you're champing at the bit to talk about this next fight. Fiziev versus Gaethje. You were right. Here's your flowers. You were totally right. Yeah, you were right. You were right a little though. I mean, it's like I think both of us like thought maybe one guy was going to be way better than the other guy, and it was honestly and I think Ben was actually the only one that was like, no, I think it's going to be a pretty good fight. Because I don't know, maybe you thought about it instead of just like used your lizard brain to pick the person that you wanted to win, but which is probably helpful in this talking about things intelligently business. But I think that I was, first of all, super impressed with Fiziev's speed. I thought it was crazy how fast he was. Ben made a good point about if it was a Muay Thai fight, he would have won on points because of the things that he was doing. Like the
variety of the shots.
Yeah, he was throwing way more elbows. He was a lot more clinical, I think, across the first 2 rounds. But MMA scoring, Justin was really trying to put him out there. And I think we all knew in the 3rd round where he won the 3rd round more decisively than anyone had won the first 2. And I'll give Justin credit. The thing that I didn't give him credit for, because I think that he has special needs, but the thing I didn't give him credit for in the first show we did in the preview is I sort of thought that he couldn't hang with a guy as technical as Fiziev, because I saw technical guys, like technical boxers like Alvarez and Poirier, take him apart. What I did know to be true is that the step up in competition point you were making wasn't going to really be the case. Like I knew that Fiziev was good enough to be fighting Justin Gaethje. What I didn't realize though, when I saw them, is I was like, oh, Gaethje's bigger. He's like a lot bigger. So anytime he needed to like use reach, anytime he needed to just sort of take a breather and like, push him away and like whatever, he was able to do that. But what do you see happening, Matt, for Justin Gaethje now? Because it's like he got slapped back down from the belt. He is probably the most exciting fighter in the UFC as far as like just box office of his fights. When he fights, they're like that. That's the Justin Gaethje factor. You got to give him credit for that for sure. What happens with him now? Like he goes and fights Islam. Islam's going to do the same thing to him Khabib did to him. Like what happens?
Right. That's such a boring fight. I honestly, my gut tells me Gaethje versus Poirier is the way to go. And I know what people are saying. Oh, wait, hold on. Everyone on the internet didn't. I knew that they fought. We talked about it. And yeah, it's fine. I'm gonna let it go. I really do think that that's the only route you take with him. What do you do again? You can't feed him to Chandler again after McGregor kills Chandler. McGregor and him. It's a fun matchup. I just don't think it makes a lot of sense because
I like him and Conor fighting. I genuinely do. That would be a lot of fun.
I think Leon's going to, if Leon wins this next fight against Colby, which I think he's going to, I think Leon's going to want to fight Conor. I think that's his payday fight. And I think he deserves to pick his opponent because he didn't get to pick him this time. So I don't know if that's going to be an opportunity. You know what I mean?
I guess. What happens, Ben, if a guy like Leon Edwards fights a guy like Conor McGregor? Is there a world where Conor can get that fight done? 170, a guy Leon's size, a guy that good at kickboxing. How do you see that playing out?
A few years ago, it's a difficult question to answer in the capacity of us talking about it today.
Right.
Nobody
don't know what kind of Conor. Yeah.
Nobody's seen Conor in a little while, so we don't know what he's working with. A few years ago, absolutely. I think you'd be stupid to say that he wouldn't be able to get that done. He got the impossible done.
Right.
That being said, I think as his style continued to evolve, as he got a little bit older,
he did evolve in the wrong direction, right? It's weird. He got worse.
He went for the low-hanging fruit, in my opinion, because being able to throw those sort of capoeira spinning attacks, so on and so forth, and be in constant movement, that saps your cardio. But your boxing, if you can stand and wait and you can become an excellent counter puncher, great, it'll work. But it's two weapons that you're working with.
Yeah.
I think if you put him against somebody like Leon, could he get it done? Of course, it's a fight. But anybody can get anything done on any given night. I think it would be, it's harder said than done.
It's tall order.
Or easier said than done. Oh,
yeah. It seemed hard for you to say, so maybe not. But I think that back to Justin Gaethje, I think that looking at his future and looking at where, the kind of prospects that are out there, the Dustin Poirier fight's probably the one that gets made. To be honest, it is violent, it is box office, but again, it's another co-main. It's another co-main or third from the top fight, depending on how the quality of the card. I think if Dustin Poirier and Justin Gaethje fought today, I think Justin Gaethje would win. to be honest. I think that the way Poirier got him, I think he could make those adjustments, and I think he's a smarter fighter now than he was when they fought. I think he does do stupid shit. How about Trevor Whitman? Is he okay? Like, he just smiled very strangely the entire time he was like watching Usman, like Leon Edwards, like celebrate a victory over his fighter. He's a really good coach. He's a weird fucking guy. He's just always got this smile on, and it kind of looks like that video, kind of a deep cut of the bald guy in the nightclub that like smiles like this and like looks at the camera. You know what I'm talking about? And he kind of looks like that guy. I don't know. But Fiziev, again, it's sort of the same question. It's like he kind of got gate kept in that fight. Like he moved up in competition and he lost. For me, you run it back with those two guys. Like, you run it back with those two guys. I don't know what their deal is these days with 3 to 5 round fights. Title fights were supposed to only be the only 5 round fights. But if you could make it a main event on a fight night or a main event on a pay-per-view without a belt on the line and make it a 5 round fight, I would be really interested in seeing that. I'd be more interested in seeing that rematch because it was close. Up until the 3rd round, it was close. And damage tells, and I get that. And I do think Justin won the fight. I'm not arguing with you there, but I think that rematch is more interesting to me than the rematch between him and Poirier. I don't think him fighting Chandler really holds any interest, unless it's like someone like Conor or something. I really don't. I don't care to see him fight anyone else, but that fight again, because I think Fiziev can go and work on some stuff and maybe do a better job. Am I wrong?
Well, I think Fiziev moved up on rankings even after the loss. I think he's
definitely
he's at 6 now, and I think I feel like for Fiziev, first of all, I would watch those two fight every weekend because that was awesome. It's just like
they'd be dead. They'd be dead by April, but sure.
Just hang and bang. Like, I love watching fights like that. Just neither guy's interested in going to the ground. We're just going to throw our hands at each other. But I think Fiziev has a lot of opportunity here from this spot because he's got Dariush, he's got Chandler, he's got Gamrot. There's a lot of chances for him to come up and show everyone.
I always forget about Dariush, and you know who else forgets about Dariush? Hunter Campbell and Dana White. Nobody seems to really give a shit about that guy.
It's no respect. It's just bizarre because he's
the Rodney Dangerfield of the lightweight division.
But Fiziev's young, so he doesn't need to be on a championship track right now. Whereas Gaethje, I doubt he would agree to fight somebody below him now because I think he knows that it's his last chance at going and getting a belt that's not interim.
Yeah, that's a fair point.
Yeah.
Leah also pointed out to me when I was like, no, I just think Fiziev's better. And she was like, and I was like, I don't think, before the fight, I was like, I don't think I have like a huge bias against Gaethje, like the guys were saying. And she was like, are you sure you don't have a bias for Fiziev because he kind of looks like Ragnar Lothbrok? And I was like, oh shit,
he does look like Ragnar.
I was like, oh shit, I think I did do that.
I don't know if we've discussed it on this show, Dave, but should we talk about the shit list?
What shit list? My shit list?
For the listeners that don't know, Dave has an actual handwritten list of fighters that disappoint him that he refuses to bet on the next time, although we will bet on them from time to time. And it's kind of an impressive crazy person thing to do, but it's a handwritten list that he keeps in his pocket.
Well, it's because I think I'm going to forget to not bet on Johnny Walker, and then Johnny Walker is about to fight, and I'm like, what? He's so athletic. Like, I'm going to bet on him. And then Leah, my wife, will be like, he's on the list of like never betting again. Do you remember why? And I'll be like, oh yeah, because I put like fucking $200 on him once. He was beating the ever-loving fuck out of somebody, and then he decided to knee him in the head while he was on the ground because he's an idiot. So I don't want to. It's not necessarily a shit list of people I hate. It's people that I don't bet on idiots. I don't like to bet on dummies. I don't like to bet on people that are gonna fuck me. I don't mind losing, but actually that brings me on to my next point, and I wanted to talk about this from yesterday. I don't mind losing, but I don't like getting fucked by morons. I want you to fucking take me out to dinner and lube me up first. All right. Don't just fucking just stumble into me with that dumb guy dick. I need to know that I lost fair and square. And the Marvin Vettori Roman Dolidze fight, I did not fucking lose fair and square because Dolidze beat his ass for fucking 3 rounds. And those judges all goddamn night were fucking up. And there was one guy, I'm not sure who he was, but I know it was the same guy every time that was making these outrageous score calls every time. He turned a lot of unanimous decisions into split decisions. He turned some shit into he turned a majority decision in because he fucking 28 and 28'd one guy. And he gave fucking Marvin Vettori 3 rounds in that fight. I could see round 2. You could make an argument to me about round 2. I thought Dolidze won all 3, but you could make an argument to me around round 2. Vettori was running for his fucking life for that whole fight. He was desperately trying to fucking get out of those situations and not die from like those big looping overhands. Would I have liked Dolidze to wrestle a little bit more and like try to bully him a little bit more? Yes. But To say that that first round, he went flying across the fucking octagon from a punch. And what did he do to win the first round? Who was that guy making those fucking terrible calls? He gave Fiziev, I think, like 2 rounds, or 3 rounds or some bullshit, and Gaethje was pissed. I mean, look, I know it's probably not the easiest thing in the world to be a judge, but fucking hell, man, people's careers are on the line here. You know, a lot of money, and maybe we should just go back to the old days where we find out who they are and you allow crazy people on the internet to threaten them. No, I'm just kidding. Am I? Ben, have you ever been in a situation where you felt yourself judged egregiously badly in a post fight where you thought you won and you got a bad judging, or you did win and you got a bad scorecard?
Yeah, there were definitely a few times where I think I was on the right and wrong side of decisions. But I never watched my fights back, so how would I know?
You don't? Why not?
I have with some, but the earlier ones were so poorly documented that it's hard to really review.
Ben's like Michelle Pfeiffer. He's like, I just can't watch myself work. It's too much. I notice too many things about myself.
I do want to give Vettori some credit though, because God, I can't stand that guy and I never want to hear from him ever again. But he looked to me like an improved fighter. His footwork was a little bit better. He wasn't as trotting.
He was kicking.
Yeah, and
he wasn't as flat-footed as we said.
But he was getting countered perfectly. The southpaw to orthodox fighter and the overhand right being timed and landed so great. I don't see how you give that fight to Vettori. That being said, good showing from him.
Yeah, no, I thought he did better than I thought he was going to do, but I thought he still fucking lost, which was aggravating.
Absolutely.
Who else have we talked about?
I don't want to talk about him anymore.
He makes me uncomfortable too. He makes me uncomfortable too. He's always like, I make it a fight.
I think we were spot on for Gunnar Nelson.
Yeah, all right, fuck it, let's do Gunnar next. I threw a desperation like 50 on Ryan Barberina just to try and make a little bit of money back because I'd already had Gunnar in a parlay, so it was a little bit of a hedge. Such a stupid thing to do. Like the fucking there was such a there's levels to this game moment. Gunnar had the layoff and you know he has looked somewhat vulnerable on the feet, but I thought he looked better on the feet. I thought he looked like he made a lot of improvements there. And that guy, I think, probably has a top 3 jiu-jitsu game in MMA. Just thinking about the guys that off the top of my head are just pure jiu-jitsu guys. That fucking transition to that armbar, I knew when he spun and put his butt on the floor, I knew then that the fight was over. Even though there was only like 15 seconds or some shit left in the round, I was like, this guy's taking his arm home with him if he doesn't tap. So, Ben, you said very pointedly that was beautiful, I think was the word you used. So,
man, his transitions, like you were saying, when Gunnar executes his grappling game, it is perfection. His cut from half guard to then full mount, his knee control was amazing.
It looks like a video game. Yeah,
so fluid. He looked like water. He poured over Barberina, and then he did this like amazing. It was the tiny little details in his game. He controlled Barberina's or Barberina, however if I can say his name, his torso perfectly with his thighs. Controlled, moved up a little bit. Controlled, moved up a little bit. And then he had his
hands like locked in the center of his chest. And I think that Barberina thought that he was like defending that, like he was the one doing it. And then Gunnar was just like, no, one of those is mine, pal.
Yeah. No, controlling that arm the entire time. The only thing that I would have liked to see different is when he does spin for the armbar, keeping the pressure on your opponent on the ground, keeping them cemented to the ground, not letting your butt slide off to the floor, keeps them in no space is what you want in a position like that. Mm-hmm. Having him fall off to the side, that did give a split second for a spin.
If there was like you're saying, if there was a guy with a way higher defensive jiu-jitsu game, he would have had a window to get out. And he probably would have known that he was waiting for that window also. So once he feels that, he probably takes it. I've seen it before too, because what you do then is you roll back on top of him, right? Like you try to go with him. You don't like let him take your arm away from your body. You just go with him because his weight's started to like transition away, or what do you do?
Well, so there's a few escapes there. What you commonly see, especially in MMA, because of the gloves are so difficult to isolate that way. And if you're able to control your own arm in that position, then you stack. So as his body falls off to the side, then you roll with the momentum. You get up and you stack, and you try to put his knees as close to his chest as possible. Or and this is a little bit more high risk. As the arm starts to go, you turn your thumb to the inside, drop your thumb down to the ground, and then walk your feet away on the outside towards the side.
Is it high risk because you can transition to a Kimura really easily, and then just like, or why is it high risk? Because it's high risk because
it's high risk because you're giving him the arm. The arm is getting fully extended, and you have to turn as that happens, and you have to initiate.
So you got to do it fast.
The walk.
You got to do it fast.
Yes.
Yeah. That's all super interesting. I feel like a situation like that too, I feel like Gunnar Nelson's been put in positions a lot where he's kind of been put up against guys where his game gets nullified. Like he's so outclassed on the feet, or he's fighting a guy with like really good jiu-jitsu defense. But also in MMA, if you get to the second or third or fourth or fifth round, the likelihood of you submitting someone, I feel like, really drops because of how much sweatier they are, right? I feel like there's got to be a way to you got to find an old boxing trainer to think his way through how to cheat at that. Put some fucking baby powder in your breakfast in the morning so it starts to come through your pores and dry you out. I don't know, something. There's got to be some sort of trick to stay dry, right?
It's funny because you say that. You guys remember Freddie Patente, the godfather of Worcester, and my first boxing coach.
Yeah.
So when he was coaching at my first MMA gym, which will remain unnamed, he started.
Sorry, guys, that's the name of the gym. It was called Which Will Remain Unnamed. Go check it out in Worcester if you really want to learn how to.
Should I say it so we have to bleep it out?
No, it's too much editing. Keep going.
Yeah, I would never talk about Worcester MMA.
It's funny because he was such a student of the fight game in general. He had been boxing forever. He still sparred at 60, whatever he was at the time, and he was constantly looking for ways because when we would box in the boys club, Carlos would teach you to hit with your thumb so that you hit in the eyeball with hooks. And then he would say, when you would throw the hook, you throw the hook and then you quickly turn back with your elbow and you try to catch with the elbow. Since that's legal in MMA, Freddie was constantly calling for that. He'd say, throw the hook, quickly turn back with the elbow while they're not expecting it. Because in boxing, that's obviously illegal and cheating, but it happens so fast.
Fucking Dolidze was doing that. Every time he overextended with the overhand, he was coming back with a fucking elbow. And it didn't work even one time, but it felt like if he drilled that a little bit better, it might actually be worth something,
Yeah.
No, that is interesting. Okay. Well, I thought what the theme of the night was, and I do think there is themes. I think these matchmakers I'm ever complimentary of the UFC matchmakers and what they do with their roster, because I think they have the ability to fuck over fighters that are annoying them. And they don't do that all the time, but they do it. And I don't know what Bilal Muhammad did, like I said, but he's about to get fed to a fucking rancor. But what they do really well, I think, is they stylistically pair fighters that make for entertaining fights. I think that is their sort of mission statement. And I want to talk very, very briefly about Jennifer Maia and Casey O'Neill, because we said we were high praise for Casey O'Neill coming into the fight, and she did lose me some money, but I'm not necessarily mad at her. Jennifer Maia's boxing, whilst obviously much improved, it really annoyed me that Casey O'Neill couldn't figure out that she was getting hit with the same 3-punch combo all 3 rounds, and she was doing nothing to adjust to it. I think that she had length on Jennifer Maia. I think that she had better kicks than Jennifer Maia. I don't think fucking Jennifer Maia threw one kick in that whole fight. And she started to kind of get it together by the 3rd round. Ben, do you think that was ring rust? Actually, Matt, do you think that was ring rust? Because you were saying she's fucking ring rusty. I think that was your one worry, and it didn't look like the injury necessarily was the issue, but she definitely looked a little deer in headlightsy. And I will also say, by the way, Juliana Miller was the lady that we were talking about in the early prelims, and her walkout, Ben, she did it to Mr. Fahrenheit by Queen. And I noticed the exact same body language thing you did, because she started to sing along with the song, and then she saw the camera on her, and then she got nervous for singing along to the song. And I was like, oh, she's about to lose. I was like, she does not look confident at all. And she was an Ultimate Fighter. She's the one Ultimate Fighter winner. She won the women's season. And God damn if Dan Hardy's wife didn't just go out there and beat the fucking brakes off her. But yeah, body language matters. But anyway, Matt, going into I mean, that's why I got my doctorate in it. Going into the Casey O'Neill Jennifer Maia fight, I mean, Jennifer Maia put on a good performance. Like, it's not, I'm not taking anything away from her, but it was the same straight hook uppercut combo that she was throwing over and over and over again. She just kept catching this girl. And it's like, where's your corner? Where's your corner telling you how to avoid a fucking boxing combination? Not in boxing. Like, I could tell you as a watcher of boxing what to do about that. Like, just get inside when she throws that combo. You know which punch is coming when she throws the uppercut, go over the top. But it's not even boxing. You can just stay out in kicking range and just fucking peg her legs all fucking day. Like, what happened in there?
It had to have been the time off. I mean, what?
She looked rusty. She's a better fighter than that. I really think she's a better fighter than that.
I was so upset because I was so hot on her. I love a return story.
And all right, this is a workplace. Calm down.
Yeah. I felt like Maia was kind of.
She is a handsome woman, but like, be professional.
Yeah, she's okay. I felt like Maia was an opportunity for her to come back and look strong. And man, you're right. She just didn't look like she knew what was happening to her, and it wasn't that complicated. It was the same thing over and over again. Yeah, that's one I really. That's one of those set it and forget it. I might have bet that 4 fights in advance. I'm like, that's a winner. I should always know those are the losers. Unbelievable.
I know. It's disappointing. I was high on Casey O'Neill before that, but I think that she's pretty raw. I think there's some stuff she has to do to improve her game. And honestly, the way the women's divisions are going, she better hurry up because there's a lot of really good fighters out there.
No kidding.
Okay. I mean, it was a fun card. We had a really good time watching it. I hope you guys tailed some of our bets. I hope you didn't tail the ones that, we got wrong. I did really enjoy all the engagement we got on the videos, especially, people wading into a video of Matt saying that Justin Gaethje was going to win a fight and being like, what do you mean Justin Gaethje's awesome? It's really great to see how America's education system is definitely not failing anyone. But next week we have Vera and Sandhagen, which is going to be, I think, a really good fight. I love Cheeto. I think he's a really good fighter. Corey Sandhagen, I'm not super high on, but we can talk about that. Holly Holm's back. Holly Holmes, she's looked 45 since she was 25, but now she's actually 45. So like, that's exciting to watch. She's had a long layoff. She's been hurt. So we'll see what Holly looks like. I'm a big Holly fan, by the way. I've been a big fan of her since I watched her head kick Ronda Rousey out of relevancy, but
the giant killer.
Yeah. And after that, we have what I'm very excited for at the start of April, and I hope you guys will be back to talk to me about it. Alex Pereira, who's a pathetic 7-1 in MMA, which is hilarious, is the current middleweight champion of the UFC, and that rematch between him and the long reigning champion Israel Adesanya. But I have to just quickly preview that because I want to know: do some athletes just have other athletes' numbers? Like, from the gut, you can't possibly be thinking about betting on fucking Izzy again, right? There's no way.
No, I think I just don't see how he does it, because he's had so many opportunities. He's had every opportunity he can throw at a fighter to come back, redeem himself, and win. And Izzy is an amazingly talented guy. He does a lot of stuff great, but you have to be perfect the entire time with Alex.
Yeah.
And that he just does not seem to be able to maintain that perfection throughout the entirety of the fight. And that's all it takes. That hook, it's coming. He can punch through your guard. He sets you up. It doesn't matter. He'll
get out of there. You got to get out of there. You can't be leaning up against the fence, like moving your head around. You got to get out of there. You're going to get put away if you don't.
I just don't see him winning it again. I think Alex has his number. I think somebody else will have Alex's number shortly after.
Yeah. Someone's going to come in and wrestle him, and it's going to be all over for sure.
But Izzy versus Alex, I think you'd be stupid to take the bet for Izzy.
Matt, that's going to be a really fun betting card. I really do think it's going to be a lot of fun. There's going to be a lot, like Kevin Holland's fighting. He loves to lose me money. That kid, Paul Rosas Jr., who, his face looks like it was made out of like children's Play-Doh, but he's a really, really good fighter. Ponzinibbio is the one fighting Kevin Holland. That's going to be good. And then Gilbert Burns and Jorge Masvidal. And I'm really looking forward to the early lines on that, because I could not possibly put enough money on Gilbert Burns.
No
so
way.
like, that's going to be a fun betting card, right?
But I will say this, resident casual here. Right now, I'm pretty hot on Izzy. We'll see how we are when we get close to the fight. But boy, oh boy, do I love a Creed 2 story. And I think we got one brewing, boys.
Yeah. I love the story of the worst of the Creed movies as
Whoa.
well.
Okay.
Well,
fair.
I mean, it is though. And it's based off, the thing is, and this is the thing people forget. Rocky IV was like it was an event, right? It was during the Cold War. Rocky saves everybody from the Cold War or whatever. It wasn't the best Rocky movie by a long stretch. Like, they get progressively worse. 3 was better than 4. 3 was 100% better than 4. But on the theme of Rocky, congratulations to Leon Rocky Edwards for securing again the welterweight title and opening up a lot of fun stuff to happen in welterweight. I'm really looking forward to that. A lot of really good cards coming up and a lot to talk about over the next few weeks. So tune in here if you dare to check my oil.